the people, in order to form a perfect union. We, the people, have established a way to protect our society. We are the government. Now, we forget that because in our apathy and lack of concern about things, we assume that they're the government. We have essentially reverted back to a previous time. I am proud that there's a great pond separating us from Europe. And it irritates me that we want to digress back into monarchical rule. I just want to let you guys know that. As we talk about the development of the Constitution, I want to mention a few things. And first off, you guys need to know that people will economically sometimes sway back towards helplessness. Well, the reason they do that is, well, it's pretty clear. They have the incentive to do so. They can sit there and let things happen. I was sitting in a room in Palo Alto, California with my friends and family who are mostly liberal. In any case, we were talking about New Orleans, and they talked about how bad a job the government did in the New Orleans Katrina evacuation. And I mentioned to my family, I said, guys, here it is. The people in New Orleans sat there and waited on the city to do something. The city waited on the county to do something. The county waited on the state to do something. The state waited on the National Guard to do something, and nobody did anything. It's time for us to recognize that we, the people, are responsible for our own lives. That we have responsibilities and not just rights. And when we realize that, we'll finally become what America was meant to be. A place where every individual American has the responsibility and the rights to step out and build their own life for themselves. As we step into the Constitution is a document that empowers people to get involved. We talk a lot about people involvement. In the modern business world, we spend a lot of time on empowering our people to get involved in the production line and empowering the people to get involved in, that stuff's not new. The framers of the Constitution knew about that, and they gave you a document to empower you. As we move forward in the last 200 years, the government has begun to eradicate the rights that were guaranteed you in the Bill of Rights, and guaranteed me in the Bill of Rights. You may not notice it. Maybe you don't carry guns. Maybe you don't notice that we've been restricted on certain speech items with the new thought police. Maybe you don't realize that the way the press is being controlled, we're not being fed the entire truth. There's a lot of ways our rights are being restricted, and we sat there and let it happen. We are not here to support a government. We are here to defend the Constitution. And as we defend that Constitution, we must realize that we do not hand our power over lightly. In fact, we should not hand our power over at all. The state of Montana, as they were deciding on the gun rights legislation, the state of Montana said, we have a contract with the federal government. This state gives its people the individual right to bear arms. And if they make the wrong decision, the state of Montana will secede. You understand how that works? The government made a contract. That's what the Constitution is. The Constitution steps out and says, this is your contract. It's your contract with your people, with your elected officers, with your government that says, hey, this is what you're going to do for us, and this is what we're going to do for you. And I'll tell you what we do for them. We build a good life for ourselves, right? You may not recognize this. We have the right to life, to liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which is linked back to the acquisition of possessions. Now, you may not think that matters much. I was listening to a certain political candidate who became the president talk about how an ownership economy ought to be rejected. He's our current president, by the way. We have the right to an ownership economy. We have the right to acquire possessions because our acquisition of possessions guaranteed us by the Declaration of Independence is what gives us the freedom to build this great constitutional democracy. And so the Constitution stands as a document that gives us power. It is power to the people. And as I stand here today, you may not have sworn an oath. I know at least some of you have, to defend that Constitution against all arms, foreign and domestic. Some of you have, some of you hadn't. but all citizens are responsible to take care of their Constitution. If you've never read it, you never sat down and read through it, there's some things in there that may not be applicable to you, that detail how Congress operates and so forth and so on. Each of those things is important. When you step down to the end, you'll get to those Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights are super important, and we've added a few more rights to the tail end of that. The Bill of Rights say, we want to make sure that you understand that we recognize you have God-given rights. And for just a moment, I want to digress into a little bit of philosophy, maybe some theology, just for a little bit. We believe, as a government, as a people, we believe that there are inalienable rights that are granted to us by God. And what that means is no man can take them away. Now, if you're not a God-fearer, it doesn't matter to me when it comes to politics. The fact is you have inalienable rights that are embedded in your person that should not and cannot be abridged. And because they should not and cannot be abridged, when they start to take them from you, they are thieves, robbers, vagabonds, and they ought to be rejected. There is an assault on the Constitution. Now, people have asked me when it started, and I have a weird philosophy on that. It started with Thomas Jefferson buying the Louisiana Purchase, but we won't digress into that. As presidents moved forward, and as Congress battled against presidents, more and more presidents violated the fact that they are bound to a Constitution. We need to hold them to that document. We're facing a lot of issues today. We're facing health care reform. We're facing cap and trade. We're facing other things. If we sideswipe the Constitution and let it sit aside, we will lose our ability to be empowered citizens. If that happens, this is no longer America. And that great pond that divides us from the feudalistic empire of Europe doesn't mean anything anymore. I am not a European. I'm a European by ethnicity, but I'm not one by birth. I am proud to be in the greatest nation on God's green earth, the United States of America, with the greatest system of government, where anyone can come here and be a United States citizen and be a brother and a sister in this great place. Because I'm proud of that, I never want to lose my freedom to be an empowered citizen of the United States of America. We must recognize this assault and defend it by whatever means possible. We have to defend the Constitution. Thank you.